Okay. What about you?
I'm currently single.
Okay.
And for the last 10 years, I've been living on an island in the middle of the Pacific doing my dolphin research. There's not a lot of, potential people.
Which island? Channel Islands?
Maui.
Oh,
Hawaii.
nice. I used to live in Hawaii.
Wait, there's not a lot of people.
Well, they're coming there. I don't mess around with married men.
Isn't the population like 100,000?
I thought it was pretty
there's
big.
not.
I don't know.
Yeah. I haven't dated for a long time.
She might marry a dolphin.
I've been
that's true.
celibate for a long time.
How long
Okay,
you been
don't
celibate
need
for?
a man.
Almost 9 years.
Damn.
But
She
do you
doesn't
like
need a man,
masturbate?
guys. She was not
Oh.
ready for that one.
Exercise.
Sexercise.
Yeah, I exercise.
She's exercising.
Do you find dolphins physically attractive?
Well, they're my
smoothness?
family, but
Somebody
I
get
don't.
this lady a dolphin vibrator. That's what you need.
No.
A dolphin
Great
vibrator.
gift. That would be a great gift.
Actually,
Does
yeah.
somebody watching want to send her a little dolphin gift, maybe?
We're gonna set that up. I have a podcast coming out too. It's called The Playroom. We're gonna get you on there and get you a
It's
dolphin.
kind of
There you
like,
go.
what was that
Dolphin.
one show with the, let's see, it was the one with, I can't even think of it, that the older women that made the vibrators for the elderly community.
Oh, I have no
Don't
idea.
know what that is.
Oh, it's so funny.
Wait, so longest relationship you've ever been in?
3 years.
3
with an
years?
Aussie.
With an Aussie.
Because I used to live in Australia.
Okay, and any kids? Ever married?
No.
No
not
kids?
married. Just
Never
married to my animal work.
Okay. And are you doing your work through like an organization, or is this just your own thing?
Independent research. I am a member of the Explorer Club, so you get nominated into it, like
Okay.
Jane Goodall or Sylvia Earle, or. But it's been independent, and I've been doing it since I was 14. So
So you're not a scientist?
I study marine biology and art, so I combine the arts with science because that's the only way you can figure scientific equations out. Like there's a science behind telepathy. That's why military does undercover stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but the military itself, after it declassified its documentation on its telepathic programs, said that it was bunk, that it didn't work.
Well,
CIA
they're
has declassified
lying.
thousands of programs on this, especially during the Cold War. It didn't work.
And they're lying
Well,
because
yeah.
that's how.
And your evidence that they're
locating.
lying is what? That you made it up? I mean, what's your actual evidence that they're lying?
Because there's a lot of evidence about how they actually did locating through. There's lots of programs that haven't been talked about. Like there's a mammal program that is top secret, and I've been friends with people who worked on different.
Wait, is there a government dolphin program?
It's called mammals.
Is it top secret or? Well, not. I mean, you're
Not
talking about
really
it, so
because
probably
I'm
not.
talking about it, but there's people who have worked on black op crews and in the military because I've lived a long time.
Well, I mean,
in
that's
the-
true. Dolphins have been used in warfare for a long time, and in the idea of using animals in warfare is one of the oldest methods of warfare. So there's no doubt that animals are going to be included in research and warfare. There's no doubt that that's true.
Okay, so did you see the movie Staring at Goats?
The men who stare at goats?
Yeah.
Yeah, where they were clearly making fun of these guys who had absolutely no psychic abilities whatsoever, but were gaslit by the military into believing that they did.
Well, there's other. I've experienced situations that I guess I know that it's true. So I don't need to prove myself. I haven't been.
Have you ever heard of a man named the Amazing Randy?
No.
The Amazing Randy was a magician, very, very skilled magician. And what he did was he went around and he disproved psychic frauds. That's what his entire mission in life was. Because he was such a skilled magician, he was able to see when people were making things up when they weren't. So he issued the $1 million foundation, or the $1 million prize from his foundation for anybody who could actually demonstrate any sort of psychic ability whatsoever. Can you guess how many have been able to successfully do that?
Probably one.
Zero, not one. Not all the applicants has anybody ever been able to demonstrate even a little bit, not even with a shred of evidence that they have any type of extrasensory perception or psychic abilities.
You mean ESP?
Yeah, extrasensory perception, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Wait,
So
but
there was an article written about me in 1997 with the reporter coming down to the ocean and said, "Can you call in the dolphins?" And I said,
What's
"Yeah."
the author's name?
Well, it was when the Santa Barbara News Press was still
Do
alive.
you know what the title is of the article?
Barry was the reporter, and
Barry
he
with
met
an E or
me.
an A?
I
Barry?
Barry, yeah, and I forget his last name, but he came down to the beach. It was off of Padero Lane, and he said, "Can you call in the Dolphins?" And I said, "I'll try. It's a request that I'll put out." And I said, "It takes 10 to 15 minutes for them to appear." And so I put the request out, 10 to 15 minutes. A whole group of dolphins came, and I went into the water to swim with them. So
Yeah.
then an article came out in the newspaper, but before I spoke with him, I never used to share the telepathic, talking with animals, stories with anyone, but this was in the 90s, right? And I had come back from Australia, and then he came up. I used to work for the Dream Foundation. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but it's like Make-A-Wish, except for
Yep.
adults that have less than 2 years. So he came up to me and said, "What was your life like in Australia and New Zealand?" And I said, "Oh, I used to interact and swim with dolphins, wild dolphins every day, and talk with animals." And I thought everyone talked with animals. And then so he asked me, "Let's go down to the beach and see if you can do it." So then a newspaper article came out on it.
Well, you can understand though that out of all of the possible explanations, like perhaps you knew the time that these dolphins generally came out, perhaps there was all sorts of other reasons why this could have occurred. The one that we're supposed to default to is that you were sending telepathic messages into their brains, and so they knew to come to you, right? That's like you can understand why people would be highly skeptical of that, right?
Well, people are just skeptical because they're afraid to believe. I mean, overall, people just want to be skeptics because if they believed, then the world would be a magical place.
Well, if people believed in things without evidence, the world would be a terrible place, wouldn't it?
What if everyone did DMT though?
What about
do
allegory
you
of the
think
cave?
that makes a difference?
What about what?
Telepathic.
The allegory of the cave.
Yeah, what about the allegory of the cave?
Well, when he went out and saw the world and brought it back to everyone else, he was murdered because they didn't believe him. And they said, no, that can't be. So he was murdered because of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly,
I don't
so-
I don't understand how that plays into your point.
Because she's talking about, I think, how you
Private chat.
were like basing your lack of belief in her.
Well, it's just like faith. Faith is not on evidence. Faith is something that's, we're governed by invisible energies. If we just talk science for a moment, we're dealing with gravities. We sit on these chairs and not floating around because we're affected by an invisible energy.
Yeah,
We're
but that's
also-
not because you have faith in gravity.
But I'm saying
Whether you
that
what
had
she's
faith in
talking
gravity or
about.
you did not have, hang on, let me ask you this. If you had zero faith in gravity, would you still be in that chair?
it's not faith
wanna get into
isn't part of a science method. Just like telepathy, I don't have to have faith.
No, faith
that-
is a part of the scientific method. Absolutely. It's a constructed method. You have to have faith that it works. That is true.
You don't know until you've actually discovered something that it's actually real. Because I'm kind of a doubting Thomas. So until these circumstances happen, like me going to the zoo and asking the snow leopard, like, "How are you doing?" And she said, "Well, that's a silly question. How do you think I'm doing? I'm bored, lonely, and I miss
Yeah, but
companionship."
you realize that there's an easy way that you could demonstrate this that comes to my head instantly. Like the easiest way in the world would be to go to a veterinarian's office and not have any of the animals diagnosed and ask the animal where it hurts. And when the animal told you where it hurt, you could then tell the doctor. They could run a series of tests and discover very quickly whether or not you were on point with the pain, right?
I've already
That seems
done
like
that
it would
with
be
animals.
a very, very easy way to
And
demonstrate
I've already
this
done that
ability.
with animals, right before they died, when they've been sick. So talking to an animal right before they die is very interesting because they tell me things that I wouldn't know, but the parent of the animal knows. So if a little dog holding on for dear life says, "I don't like your boyfriend," and then when I say to the woman, he's not going to leave until I tell you he doesn't like your boyfriend, then she starts crying, and then you deserve better than that. Then all of a sudden he shows me red Chinese pillows.
That
I don't
sounds
know about
batshit crazy.
Yeah, I don't know about red Chinese
your
pillows.
dog
Hang
doesn't
on.
like
Well,
your
let me
boyfriend.
let me
But-
pose the challenge. Hang on. Let
True.
me pose the challenge to you, right? Because I want to believe, right? I'm like Fox Mulder, right? I want to believe.
Okay.
I am willing to fund. I will call around and find a veterinarian I will bring you down to the veterinarian's office and have you talk to the animals and diagnose where their pain is with whatever their deficiency is. The veterinarian will know what the problems are, but you won't. What do you think your success rate will be?
It really depends on the animal, because I never impose myself on an animal. I always ask for permission to talk, because some animals are private, just like people are, and most animals know what's going on with them. Like when I talked with a cat, and their human parents thought all the doctors told him the cat was dying, and when I went to go talk to him, he basically said, I have a really bad stomach ache. If you stop giving me the drugs, I'll get better, but I do like the new cat food. And then I asked him some other questions that his parents, he ended up living a couple years after that. So I started talking to animals in Santa Barbara before I went on to different countries in the 90s. And I did it out of necessity when humans have used all possible measures to try to find out what's going on with their animal. And then they'd say, well, we don't believe you can talk to.
Let me try it a different way. Let me maybe do a different angle here.
Okay.
I am very skeptical of your Dr. Dolittle-like skills when it comes to talking with animals. Okay, I'm just going to be blunt and honest with you. What could you do that could demonstrate for me, somebody who has a high degree of skepticism, that's true, but is very open-minded to the fact that there is a possibility for things like telepathy, extrasensory perception. Like I said, I want to believe. How would you demonstrate to me that that's real, that you can actually telepathically speak to animals?
Could I add something very fast?
Hang on. Let her answer the question very quickly.
So I'm not going to answer that specific question.
No. Let her answer real quick
okay.
the question I asked her.
You mean Dove? I'm actually working on submitting something that's a proposal to prove it in a movie. So with a captive orca, I'm working on a proposal to actually go there undercover and communicate, ask her questions, and then do investigative journalism and actually film it, showing, because most of the time I've talked to animals, I haven't had a camera person there filming me, right?
That seems awful convenient, right?
What do you mean awful convenient?
Well, I mean, it seems that if you had been talking to animals for many, many, many years of your life, that wanting to show people the skill and having it well documented would be something that would be a top priority, wouldn't it?
No, because for many years I was shy, and I just thought I assumed everyone could talk with animals like I did. So I didn't know that people couldn't.
I do have to move things on, Andrew.
Well, I do have to ask this one last question.
Final thing.
Yeah.
How did you come to the assumption that other people could talk? I mean, surely you talk to other human beings, and I mean, any time that you may have mentioned this insane skill of being able, like, I mean, from their perspective, it would be an insane skill that you could talk to animals. If you just mention it to them, surely everybody you have ever spoken to about this has told you that they cannot talk to animals, right?
No, that's not
No?
true. Like, I teach a class online, and someone who took my class last month went to the beach.
Speaking of, we can
How much
pull up
is your class?
You have a website, right? We can
Yeah.
pull it up. It's
dolphingirl.org.
Okay.
Yeah. How much is the class? If I wanted to take a class so I could learn this skill, how much would I pay for that?
$50, 2 hours.
$50. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
How much would it cost to like have you come with me somewhere? I want an octopus. I want to see an octopus. So
We can talk about that later, because let's talk, like,
Tell me
that
about
one person
my
said.
dead family member pets later.
Because everyone wants to talk about dating, and dating is, you're using all the animal skills. We're using animal sense when we interact with humans, because we're sensing them, we're deciding whether or not we like them, we're watching body, we're doing all the things that animals do in the wild. So it's kind of, that's the beautiful thing about humans.
Have you ever thought, though, at one time, like, maybe I'm just having a conversation with myself, but it sounds dope. I wish that this dog was saying this to me, but it's really like a fantasy in your head. Have you ever came to that realization ever?
No, because I
Morgan
tested
Selkie
out.
user Wink donated $200. Morgan is major babe status. 10/10. Would wife. Would let her hide my face to Timbuktu. I would drag my balls through 1,000 miles of broken glass shards just to hear her fucking walkie-talkie.
So sorry.
Oregon.
He said, Morgan Simp, give us a wink. Do you want to wink into that?
She's like, double blink.
That was good. Okay. All right. Oh,
Morgan Simp give yous a wink, donated $200.
sorry. I got triggered twice. Okay. Awkward.
That's nice. You have a fan.
There you go. Okay, cool. Here, pull up the website really quick, then I got to move things on. So you, pet talks, talk with your pets. So it's not just dolphins you can communicate with. Is that a lynx? Do you have a lynx? Is that make it bigger, Nick?
That's a lion head bunny. I was going to bring her tonight.
No, the black one?
Oh, that is a cat that I met in Hawaii.
Okay, I see. So you can. Are there any animals that are precluded from talking to? Like some, you just can't
No,
get
I
through
had a
to
falcon like in New Zealand, 2 wild
No,
falcons.
but has there ever been an animal like honey badgers? You just can't get through to them.
She can get through them all because
Like a
she's
crab?
She's talking to them all right here.
I haven't. To me, it's like always the first time. I kind of doubt it until it happens.
Wait, question: if there was a lion or a tiger that was inclined to attack you, could you like stop it with your skills? Like,
hopefully.
No, but like, could you talk to it and be like,
Hey, back the fuck up.
Yo,
I
I'm
did
home.
that with a shark.
So
When I was in the water with a shark and some dolphins.
And you told
then
the shark,
basic-
you're like, chill
I
the
said,
fuck
that's
out,
close
bro."
enough. And so the shark just
You put your arm
came
out?
towards me and then veered right when I said that's close enough.
veered.
But
so
you
now
got your
you
arm
have
out
to
though,
ask
right?
her about
Yes,
the
but
bear
it
or the man in the
It
woods.
also
We'll get
senses
to that.
energy.
Is that a
Like
segue?
we sense energy.
Is a good
It's like,
segue.
The last question, do you use any tools for the job? Do you have like focusing crystals, wands, anything like that you use, which
We're already
assists you with
built.
the telepathy?
She has a dolphin.
we're already
necklace.
built to be able to communicate. Everyone is built. Scientifically, we're all built with our DNA and our cells because the 70 trillion cells that each of our cell memories have water around them. And we communicate through water.
Word.
Okay, let's go back to the website.